Welcome back to Ozarks Tonight. Here with me now is Dr. Bill Meadows. Thanks for being here with us, Doctor.
Thank you.
Dr. Meadows teaches at MSU in the Department of Sociology and Anthropology, several courses dealing with Native American heritage. And November is Native American Heritage Month, and MSU has an event coming up next Wednesday, November 28th.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. It's called a hand game, and so this is a traditional game that was played all across the plains, the Great Basin, the Plateau, all the way up into Canada. It's a very hands-on, fun game, so it involves sets of hiders like this. One is marked, one is not. One side is hiding while the other side tries to guess them correctly. What makes the game really exciting, though, is the whole game is done to drumming and singing. And rattles are shaking. So it's a very lively, peppy game. So we're going to have this. We've had it this will be the 15th year at MSU. We've got some guests coming down from Haskell University, so we're going to have a lot of Oklahoma and other Native folks with us. Anyone can play this, elementary on up to senior citizens, so it's open to the public. Come out and get a real taste of some Native music and a recreational games.
Jane, sounds like a lot of fun. And you also told me in the history of this game, there's a little bit of magic and power that people believed in the guessing when they were trying to guess. Yeah,
there is. There's a lot of strong belief still in some of the Native communities today about medicine or power. There are some groups that still wear like talisman or amulets underneath their clothing, or certain types of paint or other types of things like that on their body. There's some that pray or other things to give them extra ability in both guessing and hiding to basically fool the other side. And it's still a very popular game in Indian culture today, a lot of Indian cultures today. They play it a lot of times as a round-robin tournament. And so you'll have many teams, and it's like double elimination, just like softball or something. And there's prizes and money and a whole culture around it. So.
And MSU has other events going on this month, too. This is just one way you're honoring Native American heritage. As a professor, and you are an expert in this topic, and you have been teaching for years now, why do you think it's important that we keep honoring Native American heritage today?
Several things. They are the original people of this continent and everything. So much of our everyday, even the name, the state Missouri, is an Indian name. And there's so many things around us, place names, geographical features, roads that are paved today that were originally Indian trails and roads and things. There's a lot that we take for granted we don't realize is what they actually gave to us or was handed down to us. Also, these cultures are alive and active. They are a part of America, period. So they deserve equal representation and celebration. And, we have Native Americans that have been in the Senate, that have been an astronaut. One has been a vice president, so a Pulitzer Prize winner in literature. So they are, as much a part of America as everybody. So.
Tell me a little bit about the state of Missouri. You said that's a Native name. Can you explain that?
There's two related groups up in the northwestern part of Missouri originally. One was called the Oto, the other called the Missouria. And that's where we get the name Missouri from. Today, those two tribes, they speak a mutual language. Today, they are in a community close to Red Rock, Oklahoma. And so they're referred to as the Oto-Missouria Nation of Oklahoma.
You have written a few books, and we were talking earlier about the Code Talkers, and that's also one of the classes you teach. Right. What is that?
Okay. Code Talkers are Native Americans that were soldiers in the armed forces, both in World War I, World War II. They used their languages to send messages as part of our military so that our enemy forces could not break the languages. We had great problems in both world wars with Germans and Japanese being able to decipher anything coded in English. So these languages are relatively unknown. They're not known even by most Americans. They're not known to scholars at that time. So they're not in the Indo-European language family. So they were able to just talk in their languages, but there are also some in which they developed very extensive coded vocabularies, then specially placed within the native language. So it's like a dual code. And so I've had the good fortune to work with a lot of the World War II code talkers across the country, we're almost all gone now, and several publications involved in a Senate testimony and helping to garner a Congressional Gold Medal for them for their service.
And you have talked to and interviewed and worked a lot with Native Americans who are also veterans. Mm-hmm. And you told me one of your students asked, well, why would Native Americans want to be in the military given the history of this country? Right. And what did you tell him? Tell us.
Yeah, I've heard several people ask it. I've heard many natives talk about this too. And the one thing that first of all say is, well, this is still our land, you know, kind of thing. And so as I point out to students, even though the land base is greatly reduced, there are parcels of land in the Indian communities and on reservations that legally and physically have never left Indian hands to this day. So there still is a Aboriginal land base there, regardless of the historical process. Second, they are U.S. citizens as well. So why wouldn't they, you know, also stand up for that? So a lot of natives have described it as kind of a dual duty. They are still protecting their land and their people, but they are also simultaneously U.S. citizens and protecting the United States.
You explain that as a dual citizenship type of situation.
Yeah, which they do. Anyone who is a federally recognized native, in a sense, has dual citizenship as a member of their respective nation through a treaty with the U.S. government and also as a U.S. citizen.
And you also said that allowed them to bring in their way of honoring and celebrating their veterans with their music and their culture.
Yeah, and so you know, a lot of service in the military today ties in directly with their concepts of a warrior and a protector and a veteran. And so just this past weekend, I was down with the Comanches for their Veterans Day celebration, also the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I. And so they had a tremendous celebration recognizing World War I veterans and all later periods. They also, for example, they brought in a battalion from Fort Sill that's getting ready to deploy to the Middle East. They blessed them, they cedared them, which is like a type of an incense from cedar smoke, gave prayers for them and everything. When they lined up to leave and get on their bus to go back to Fort Sill, they sang war journey songs. And that's exactly when the men left the camp in the old days, they sang war journey songs to send them off. So they're still literally sending them off in the same way they traditionally did. So.
Dr. Meadows, thank you so much for being here with us. And just a reminder that November 28th, the 15th annual Native American Plains Indian Hand Game, it is at 6:30 at Plaster Student Union Center.
The lower level.
Yep. Thank you, Dr. Meadows. We'll be right back.